Richfield, Minnesota. He graduated high school and then went to Gustavus College, where he met his future wife, Stacy Johnson. When Steve is not fishing or golfing with friends, he loves to be with his two boys, Isaiah and Zach. He's been the coach for most of his son's baseball and football teams.
Active would have been maybe another word. He's been active in a lot of things, since I met him. First and foremost, at his core, our faith is huge, and he's always been involved in something related to our faith.
Steve also participates at his church and at his work. Steve loves math so much, he's also the coach for the math team at Henry Sibley. He's also coached the football team there for many years.
It started, we're guessing, I first started noticing it in spring break of 2013. We were doing some hiking and noticing that my foot started to cramp a little bit, so I had to stop and kind of release that. But then as that summer continued, then when we got to the fall, we were going to the state fair and doing more walking, and my foot kept cramping up and I had to stretch it more, and then my wife noticed that it was hitting real hard. And so after that we went to a chiropractor. He thought lower back pinched nerve, did treatments for 4 to 6 weeks. After that time it wasn't getting better. He knew that it was something more serious. So then I was off to a bunch of MRIs and different tests. And more tests and more tests and more MRIs. And all of a sudden then it came to that it's kind of a disease that gets the diagnosis when there's nothing left. So rule out different types of diseases, and then what you're left with is an ALS diagnosis with the symptoms that I was showing. And then from there, it like I said, started in my left foot, which was drop foot, and we can show what that is a little bit later. And then it progressed up my left side to my left hand now, where it's atrophied in my left hand, and then we also said that now it's starting to affect my diaphragm, and so breathing, as you can see, is sometimes a little bit labored.
When Steve talks about the ALS affecting certain parts of his body, many people do not really know what that truly means. He means that the muscles in that area have either begun to weaken or die completely. His left foot has lost all of its muscles, and now it just dangles in the air when it is not on the ground. This is called drop foot. Then, in his hands, you can see the muscles that have died off and disappeared.
It is actually a brain disease that affects the neurons that flow to, and the signals that flow to your muscles. And so, as it moves through your body, those neurons begin to shut down, and so your muscles start to atrophy.
ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, is a neurological disease that attacks the nerves and weakens the muscles in the entire body. ALS is not like other diseases where one day it just hits you. It is more of a slowly progressing disease as it slowly moves throughout the body. This makes certain actions, such as walking up the stairs, very difficult to complete. Everyday activities like putting your socks on can become difficult as well. In order to adjust to these challenges, a family must make their house handicap accessible and buy special equipment to help with these everyday tasks. ALS is a horrible disease, and there is no known cure at this time. It is hard to think what Steve is going through or visualize the end game of it all, but just because there's no treatment available doesn't mean we still can't do anything to help.
Well, obviously, I guess first off, donations, of course, to help fund all this. But in addition to funding and donation, I think one of the big things is just support.
Supporting the Lufkins is one of the biggest things you can do to help. Along with fundraising for both the Lufkins and ALS organizations like ALS TDI and the ALS Association. Donating can also be helpful in developing a cure for present ALS patients and future ALS patients to come.
I think one of the big things that people need to know is the ALS, or the Ice Bucket Challenge, raised 115 or 200 to millions. I think it was $115 million. But for one single drug to start off in the conceptual state and go all the way through clinical trials and go to the market is about $2 billion. So the amount that was raised last year would only cover a small chunk of just a single drug going to market. And so I think that's where it really needs to know is that the funding needs to continue.
Hi, I'm Joe Quill, and I put together this video. My two goals for this video were to show the extent ALS has on someone and also show how Steve impacts so many lives, both at Henry Sibley and within his community. In order to show this, I asked each interviewee one question. If you could describe Steve in one word, what would it be?
Fantastic.
Kind.
One word that describes Steve is a servant.
First thing that comes to mind is compassionate.
The word I came up with was honorable.
Awesome.
Compassionate.
I guess loving. Loving would be if I had to put it to one thing, it'd be loving.
Anything before, like I am in this moment here with you.